Hi guys, and welcome to Walliford Living Room Bitesize for Kids. I wonder, are you any good at solving mysteries? Maybe you're really good at playing Cluedo with your family, or perhaps you like to do some online escape rooms, or maybe you can always guess the end to a mystery TV programme or a novel. Well, today we are going to do a bit of crime solving ourselves. A good detective needs to be someone who can examine all of the evidence, look at the eyewitness accounts of the event, and put that together to solve the mystery. And that's what we're going to do today. Last week, I asked you if you believe that Jesus was who he said he was and who the Bible said he was, if you believe he really died and he really rose from the dead, and if you believe and understand why he did that. Maybe you do, and that's great, but maybe you're still not sure, and that's okay too. What is great though is that we have lots of evidence in the Bible that can help us understand and be a bit more sure about some of those questions. And so that's what we're going to look at today. As the story of Jesus' death and resurrection comes from the time of year that we know about as Easter, I have got some eggs to help us think about the different evidence that there is about Jesus' death and resurrection. Okay, let's get started. So, was Jesus definitely dead? Because that's a pretty important question. How would we know? Well, on the Friday night after Jesus died, the Bible tells us that an important man called Joseph of Arimathea went to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, and asked if he could have Jesus' body so that he could bury it. Who did Pilate ask to make sure that Jesus was dead? He went to the Roman officials who had been in charge of Jesus' crucifixion, and he checked with them. Now, the Bible also tells us that when Jesus was crucified, the Romans stuck a spear into his side to make sure that he was definitely dead. And it tells us that there was blood and water that came out. So the Romans were definitely sure that Jesus was dead. And Pilate believed them because he knew that they were really good at their job and at what they did. They didn't make mistakes. And so Pilate told Joseph that he could take Jesus' body. But here's some more evidence to help you answer the question, was Jesus definitely dead? Joseph wrapped Jesus' body really tightly like an Egyptian mummy in strips of cloth and placed him in a tomb. To make sure that no one could get in, there was a huge stone rolled over the entrance, and this was seen by Jesus' friends, the two Marys. So was Jesus dead? Well, he had been killed by a brilliant executioner. He had been buried by his good friends. And there's one more thing. The Bible tells us that Pilate actually put Roman guards at the entrance to the tomb to make sure that no one could go in. So was Jesus dead? Definitely. On top of the question, was Jesus dead, we also need to think and try and answer, well, did Jesus actually come back to life? Usually, if this was a book about anybody's life, this is where it would finish and it would say, the end. Except, this isn't an ordinary story. This isn't an ordinary man. Let's try and answer the question, did Jesus really come back to life? Was and is he alive? Okay. Early in the morning, women went to the tomb. They went to put spices on Jesus' body because they wanted it to stop smelling, even though they weren't sure how they were going to move the huge stone over the entrance. But it turned out they didn't need to worry. When the woman arrived, they saw that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance, which no one could do by themselves. And it was really heavy as well. But that's not the only thing that the woman saw. As they looked into the tomb, they didn't see Jesus' body. The tomb was empty, except for an angel. And the angel told them, "Don't be afraid. Jesus isn't here. He's risen from the dead. He's come back to life. He is alive." In fact, there are so many accounts, what are called eyewitness accounts, of other people saying that they saw Jesus after he had come back from the dead. People walked with Jesus, they spoke to him, they had breakfast with him. There were so many of Jesus' friends who saw him come back to life and believed that he had done so. And in fact, they were even so sure that they were prepared to die and be killed for insisting that he was alive. That's pretty amazing. So, was Jesus definitely alive? Well, we know the stone was moved from the tomb. The angel in the tomb told them that Jesus was alive. And lots of people saw him come back to life just as he had promised. So was Jesus alive? Definitely. So Jesus definitely died, and he definitely came back to life. But why should that matter to you or me? When Jesus rose from the dead, it showed that he is God's Son and King of everything. This one's quite hard to see, but this is a crown. When Jesus came back from the dead, he showed that he was both fully God and fully man, and that he had the power to rise from the dead. Nothing is impossible for Jesus because he rules everything. Last week, we thought a little bit about how when Jesus died, he took the punishment and the blame for the wrong things that we've done. Let's have a look in this last egg. Oh, it's a piece of chocolate. Well, that's a nice surprise. If Jesus had stayed dead, he would still be being punished for our sin. But by coming back from the dead, God shows that he's accepted that payment and that Jesus had victory over death. The sweet surprise of Easter, just like my chocolate, is that God doesn't just give Jesus new life, but he also promises new life for us, for anyone who believes that Jesus was who he said he was, that Jesus died for you, and that we can live and follow his way. Through Jesus, we can be forgiven and we can know God's power at work in us. So does it really matter that Jesus definitely died? Does it really matter that Jesus is definitely alive? Definitely.